It's a beautiful Saturday evening, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the beautiful world of women. My name is Toyin Adepoju. Today on the program Leading Women, my guest is a lawyer, a writer, and also an educationist. She is a wife and a mother, married to a popular, prominent family here in Nigeria. I implore you to listen to that wonderful chat I had with Mrs. Oyindamola Ige. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me again.
Yes, I remember the last time you had an interview on this platform. It was with now Mrs. Lanlane. Then she was Toyin Adepoju.
Correct.
Well, it's nice having you again.
Thank you for having me again.
All right, you wear so many caps. How have you been able to manage them all or to marry all of them together?
Good question. The question is, am I really managing it that well? I guess I am a lot better now.
Okay.
I call myself a passion polygamist. Meaning basically I love a lot of things and I'm actually quite good at a lot of things. But the problem with being a passion polygamist is at some point you must find out which really drives you. I'm a lawyer, just, that's what I studied in university. It's not my up there passion, if you know what I mean. And my passion really is children.
Are you trying to say that being a lawyer, it was not what you had wanted to be? Or you were influenced by perhaps your parent or the society?
Absolutely. You're really in my head. So I was born... I am born into a family where my father was a professor of law and my mother is also a lawyer.
Okay, so I get it now.
With a master's. And we're 4 children out of 3, where 3 of us are lawyers. And so we weren't really given that much of an opportunity, really, to veer off. And, in those days, I don't know about you, but I probably would have wanted to be an actress and give Genevieve a run for her money, or done something creative, much more creative than be a lawyer. But at that time, it wasn't going to happen. Not with my father and my mother, at least. But having said that, though, I am actually grateful to them because being a lawyer, studied law, going through that process has really made me good at everything else I do.
Yeah.
It's made me very thorough. I guess my training as a lawyer has really made me always want to strive for excellence. So I'm thankful to them, mom and dad. Thank you.
Okay, now you're a writer.
I am, yes.
You're an educationist. You even own a school.
I do right now.
We'll get to talk about that later during the course of the program. Now let's talk about how was growing up like. Some weeks back, I had the opportunity to speak with Mrs. Roberts, and she told me how growing up was fun for her. And it wasn't that smooth. But something I realized from that interview I had with her was that she had the confidence to explain what she really wanted to her mom, who actually wanted her to study medicine.
Right.
And so after failing A-levels, she just had to walk up to her mom to say, Mom, I think I would be better being a lawyer. So how was growing up like? Like from what you just told me about being a lawyer, this was influenced by your parent.
It was.
So how was it like, being that obedient girl to whatever mom and dad, says?
Okay. I'll start by saying that I had an exceptional background. I have. Growing up for me was amazing. I lived the life of a princess. Yes, I've got 3 older brothers and I'm the only girl and the last. So that should tell you a thing or two.
It's all written all over you. Now I was about asking. It's all written over you. I like that.
And I was my father's little girl. Everything that I wanted, the only thing he couldn't give me was his head, basically. And so he...
Were you pampered?
I was pampered, but I had a good balance.
Okay, you were spoiled.
My father was ready to spoil me rotten. But my mom, on the other hand, had, that rod in her hand. Exactly. So it was a good balance for me. Okay. My dad was there and then very cushy, and my mom who I am today, really, the discipline, the integrity, the truth about me, my mom actually instilled those qualities in me because she's a bit of a disciplinarian, or she still is. But yes, I am a lawyer. And yes, that was greatly influenced by my parents. But also my strengths also veered me in that direction. I was a whiz at English language in school. I was in the literary and debating society in school.
Cool.
So everything really pointed me in that direction of studying law. So, and of course, I had that push from my parents. So I wasn't going to study medicine because I absolutely didn't understand chemistry. And physics was like Greek to me. Didn't like math at all. So my strongest subjects really were the writing subjects and the
English
reading
and
subjects.
literature.
English and literature, yes, absolutely.
And government, a little bit of government.
A little bit of government, yes.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
So, should I conclude that you actually came from a wealthy family, a posh family, because you speak so well?
I don't think you have to necessarily. Thank you for the compliment, by the way. You don't necessarily have to come from a wealthy family to speak properly.
Okay.
I was just very blessed to go to really good schools. I had my early years because my father was a professor of law at the University of Lagos, and education, especially preschool education at that time, was pristine. And so I was schooled by very learned persons. The likes of Mrs. Ofonagoro. She taught us how to speak properly, and she taught us poise as well. And so my father was comfortable. He did his bits, and yes, we were pretty comfortable. And then, of course, I had my later years schooling in England as well, A levels and O levels, and then, yes, masters. So that's where you have a little bit of the accent.
All right, now let's talk about being a writer and an educationist. How did you? Well, I know that being a lawyer, there's always a link of you being a very good writer.
Absolutely.
But the part of being an educationist, I don't know where that actually came from. Where did you get that passion from?
Okay, I'd explain something about this education that I'm actually doing now.
Yeah.
For me, I just wanted to pour a little bit of myself into young children. And the truth is, diction is important to me. Because if you miss it at preschool level, it's a little bit difficult to correct going further. And so I focused on this particular education because it's like garbage in, garbage out. These children are like a piece of plain paper for me. And so I have the opportunity to be able to write in them what I want to see. For example, the children in my school, when you say to them good morning, they don't just say good morning. They say good morning, and then you say to them, how are you? And they say, fine, thank you. And you? And then you say, very well, thank you. And they continue that conversation in that line. And these are things that we're able to pour into them. I'm talking about children under the age of 5. Who are very well mannered, and their etiquette is right on point. So for me, it's not about math English alone. It's a whole life changing experience for me.
So when did you discover this part of you? Was it when you got married and when you started to have kids?
Okay, I'll tell you what. I was lecturing at the University of Ibadan, like I told you earlier, and I had all my babies at while I was lecturing. Lecturers always get that way. It affords you time to have your babies. And so I remember having my sons, and I looked around Ibadan, and there really wasn't a creche at that time that I could say met my standards. I mean, we had Taiwo's play group where my children eventually went. That for me then was like a reputable. But I felt, you know what, I would like at some point in time in my life to raise the bar and raise the standard for preschools here. Because I've had the privilege, I have a lot of godchildren abroad. And, I'd go on holiday and take them to their creches. And I thought to myself, I must have something like this in Ibadan. So that was what triggered it off.
Okay.
Yes. That was one factor. And then I started what you call the K Center, which is a youth activity center. We had the first...
When did you start this K Center?
K Center was 5 years ago, actually. And so what we had at the K Center was a football pitch.
Okay.
AstroTurf. And that was the first commercial public AstroTurf in Ibadan. And so I had a lot of young boys come to play soccer. And then I had a lot of young girls come for dance classes, drama. And I remember speaking to a lady, Mrs. Ladigbolu. She's with Zenith Bank. And so she came, Zenith Bank just came to visit to ask how they could be,
Part of it?
Yes, part of it. And she looked at me and said to me, Madam, so Monday to Friday, what happens here? And I said to her, oh, nothing. And she looked at me and said, but you've got such beautiful grounds. Have you thought of actually starting like a preschool? No, she's called it a creche. And then later on, 2 weeks fast forward, an expatriate lady who always came with her son for soccer, said to me, Madam, you should really consider having a space where we can bring our babies while the older ones are playing. And then I just had that light bulb and I thought, perfect. I've always been working with children. And a lot of mothers say to me, I'd like you to mentor my daughter, da-da-da. So I felt, what, it's an opportunity for me to pour what I find are values and poise into these children.
You're also an actor. And you run, you used to have, should I use the word youth? Our Lord Children's Theatre. Is it still in existence?
It's still in existence. We're an ad hoc as a time or as a demand type theatre. I'm not an actor. I actually do not act in the theatre, but I have a 40-man crew made up of all students from the Theatre Arts University of Ibadan. So we're a mobile theatre. So what I do is I find an idea, a concept, and I call them together and we move. Wow. So it's still in existence, yes.
Fantastic. How do you manage? No, I think that was the first question I asked.
How do I manage?
How do you manage all this and then have time to cater for your own children, for your whole family?
Wonderful. With maturity, I've learned to manage it better. When I was much younger, it was a bit of a struggle. I wasn't really doing that well in all of them. But now with maturity, one thing I must tell you is time management is very key. What you spend your time doing, really, at this age will determine where you will be when you're retiring. So now I find I hardly go to parties anymore.
Why? Is it because this old thing you're into is demanding?
Absolutely. My sister, think about it this way. So my school, it's a 7 to 7 school I run. 6:45, we have to be in school to receive the babies. And we do not leave until the last baby leaves. And so our after school runs till 6:30. So we give it like till 6:37. Okay? And because the parents, and that's why we grew so quickly, because the parents have a lot of confidence in us. And so we have a lot of mothers who are bankers who leave their children with us and they're happy knowing this is a safe haven. And so the question I ask people who say to me, Oyinda, do you still live in Ibadan? Because they don't see me, is okay, explain to me how Monday to Friday I'm locked up in a school from 7 to 7. And then to think that I would wake up on a Saturday morning and start looking for a makeup person and a gele person. My Saturdays are so precious to me now that I just want to be, I'm a home bunny now. Now, and it goes back to my writing. I have 2 books that I must publish this year.
Yes, I was about asking you about the last time you wrote your book.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to that.
Right. And so my Saturdays and Sundays really after church and family time. And I do have 2 boys at home that I need to pay attention to as well. So there's really hardly any time for me to do extracurricular for now. But it's a good thing because I've been there, done that and taking photos doing it. So I'm not really missing out on anything. Now I'm just trying to stay focused and be an achiever. And so I must complete 2 books this year. And so that's it. It's just managing your time, really.
Yes, I think this question will actually lead to one of your books.
Okay.
Was it like Married to the Iges? And then your book titled Mother-in-Law was a book dedicated to your mother-in-law.
Yes.
So how was it like how is it like Married to the Ige?
I would marry them over and over and over again.
Tell me something I don't know.
I will look for Muiwa Ige and I will marry him over and over again.
All right.
If ever there was anything like the afterlife or reincarnation, I will come back and find that man.
Tell me something I don't know.
Yes, because not only my mother, God bless her, always used to say to me as a young lady, she said, Oko buruku sheni, ano buruku nyosheni.
Absolutely.
As in, I'll translate, meaning, marrying a bad husband is tolerable, but marrying terrible in-laws, You don't pray for your worst enemy. And I've been so blessed because my mother was always on her knees because, like I said to you, I was a bit of a pampered child. And so she was slightly worried, well, this girl, how will she do in marriage? Because her father was just like, my father was like my husband. And so my mom always used to pray that I would be blessed with in-laws who would just love me and take me for who they are, for who I am. And honestly, her prayers were so answered. My mother-in-law, amazing woman. I got away with murder with my mother-in-law. I was like her. I could do no wrong. And then my sister-in-law, who's also a bit like my mom, she's a disciplinarian, but she loves me to pieces. Yes, Auntie Funshaw, and I love her back. I mean, so it's just a lovely, and she's my husband's only sister. So she's not like my mother-in-law. I love her to pieces, yes. They make me happy.
How did you meet your husband? Let's get there.
Okay, so I've known the Iges for like forever, because it's a long story. That's another story for another show.
Okay.
But fast forward, I was in Geneva working with the United Nations, and I was staying with an aunt of mine, Mrs. Tokumbo Ige, who was quite high up in the UN as well, and so Mrs. Tokumbo Ige is my husband's sister-in-law. Married to my husband. I know it's a bit of a maze, right? Happened to be married to my husband's late older brother.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Tunde Ige. So Auntie Tokumbo was living in Geneva, and I was living with her because I was working in Geneva. And so this very dapper man calls the house one day with an amazing accent. I just love men who speak well. And so I happened to pick up the phone. And he had remembered me when his brother died. I'd come to visit my aunt in Ibadan. I was in law school. This is 10 years, I think. And so he had said to my sister-in-law, I like this young lady. And my sister-in-law was like, no, this one, she's still in school, And so he remembered me as a girl who wore clogs. Because I wore a lot of clogs in those days. And so he said to my sister-in-law when he rang her in Geneva and said, who is that? Who picked up the phone? And so my sister-in-law said, Oyinda. And he was like, the same Oyinda, and the rest is history. So we're down the line 3 boys later. Yes.
Fantastic story, I must tell you. So was that what actually inspired you to write a book that you actually dedicated to your mother-in-law? My mother-in-law,
it was so easy to write a book on her, to celebrate her. She was an amazing woman. I mean, the day she died was like the worst day of my life, honestly. And I keep saying to girls who say they want a man who doesn't have a mother, I'm sorry for them. Because truth of the matter is, my mother-in-law was amazing. When I had my first baby, she left her work and flew all the way to Boston in the cold to be with me when I had my baby. And, I would be sleeping and mommy would be passing former by the window, and I wake up and say, Mommy, you should sleep. I should say, Washasun, Tobatisun, Tinu Ebati do, Tinu Mommy to do. So what more do I want? Because I was just one of those wives who always had morning sickness in the morning, and I would throw up and eat, and mommy would be there packing up after all my and she was a just judge of the Court of Appeal. So a lot of people, and I had to write that book so that a lot of people will see the other side of her and get to know her. Because being married to a man who's larger than life, like Chief Bola Ige, my wonderful father-in-law, a lot of people would not really know that much about mommy, but she was just an amazing woman. Not only in her career, she was an achiever, but she was also a mother. I mean, like a mother. You would read, I would send you a copy of the book.
I can't wait to have this book.
She's really amazing woman. And so I had to celebrate her that way.
Wow. And was this book able to achieve what you intend?
Yes, absolutely. Because
I know that apart from celebrating your mother-in-law, you also wanted to teach young wives ways of approaching this old belief about
dreaded
myth about mother-in-laws. They're being witch or something. Were you able to achieve that?
I have been able to reach out to my little community of young ladies who I happen to know. Like, for example, we've got 2 of them looking at me through that glass now, and I'll be able to speak to them and say, look, mothers-in-law are not witches. They don't have broomsticks. Neither do they have long black hats with tips. It's also your approach and your mindset. If you're going into a marriage thinking, I'm never going to get along with my mother-in-law, and then you likely won't get along with her. But if you go with an open mind, going in there, showing them that you're a well-brought-up child, forgetting who your parents are, forgetting what your educational qualifications are. I'm not saying lose yourself, but humility also works. So you're not going to go in there thinking, and then a mistake a lot of young girls make is, I am married to my husband alone and that's it. We are Yorubas, we're Nigerians. You're married to a man, you marry everything around him. You marry his mother, his sisters, his brothers, his nieces and his nephews. So in the Ige family, and I'm saying this, open air, so you would know that it's authentic. My sister-in-law's son and daughter love their Auntie Oyinda like no other. And that's because of the way I've been able to relate with them. They're like my mom, Ian Babaoko. I'm older than them, but I give them the due respect. So to a certain extent, I'd have to advise young girls out there, as much as you're very westernized in your thinking, you also have to be traditional. I know that there's certain things that you have to conform with and to when you get married. You're not just marrying your husband. You're marrying everything and everybody that comes with him.
And so you must learn to be humble?
Humble, yes. Humility. You have to learn to be diplomatic.
Yes, that word diplomatic. My sister will always tell me, you just have to be diplomatic in dealings with your in-laws because it goes a long way in your relationship with them, Now, going into so many things, how do your in-laws, how do your husband contribute to your success?
They're very supportive, extremely supportive. My sister-in-law, Mrs. Oyindamola, very supportive. She's what I call a kick in my behind, if I may use those words on air. She's just so supportive of me, of young people. I mean, she's a go type person. You take an idea to her, she would ensure that she pushes you until you achieve. She's like that. And my husband, oh my goodness, that's why I say I would find him and marry him over and over again. I get invited a lot to speak publicly. He goes with me when he's available. Absolutely. To show you how supportive he is, on a Thursday, I begged him and I said, you know what, MI? I call him MI, so do a lot of people. And I said to him, you must come to school. It was Christmas period. And I said, I want a Santa Claus for the school. And I said, MI, I want a Santa Claus who's very well-spoken. A Santa Claus. And he said, you know what, I'll do it. Yes. And I asked him, even my sister-in-law's daughter called me and said, Auntie, how do you get Uncle to do all these things? He's just a very supportive person. Like, for example, he's called me in the studio. What time is this airing? Because I must hear it. He's just like that, very supportive. And I guess also for women, when you're getting married, you should also look out for the signs. You must marry a confident husband. Because when a man is not confident and self-assured, that's the only time when you can have competition with your spouse. But I've never experienced that. Because he's even too busy to be competing with me. He's just a very amazing man, very supportive man.
When you meet young girls or young wives who are having troubles in their marriage because either their husband doesn't really get it in the sense that it seems as if my wife is becoming so engrossed with a lot of activities and he thinks that, if I support her, she becomes so known and then no one wants to think about me. How do you manage situations like that where a husband feels so insecure? How do you deal with situations like that?
Unfortunately, thankfully, and I say thank you, Jesus, that I'm not caught in that situation, but I know a couple of young ladies who've mentioned like that their husbands aren't supportive. This is where a woman has to be wise. You really must know you must know who you're married to and know how to get him to do the things that you will expect of him. For example, when you nag continuously, it's not going to help. You're the one who knows. Look, for example, if you have a function that's important to you and it would enhance your career, it's not so, I wouldn't expect you to just say, well, I have this function and I'm going. There are ways that you would approach your husband. It's all, we're women, we know how to get things from men. There are ways that you would appeal to his inner man, the strength in him. Every man wants to be a village headmaster. Trust me.
You have to caress his ego.
Absolutely. And you know how we are when we want to get things now. You know, it's like with my husband, if I know that I need to be away for a week and I must leave him in the house with the children, which is a rarity because he is always the go person. I know what to do. Sit with him at dinner. Make something special for him. That day I'm in the kitchen 24 hours, you know, preparing and just caressing him the ways that you know how to. You know how we do when you want to collect money from them. You know how you would do it now. It's the same way. You know, my darling, I have this project. My husband edits, he reviews my books. He looks and he edits, corrects my English. You know what I mean? Yes. He's always correcting my English. Like this book that I'm hoping to publish, he's looked at the manuscript and he's told me, do it this way, do it that way. He's very busy. So I know how to get him to say, Emma, sit down and look at this thing for me. He say, okay, I have 5 minutes. By the time I'm done with him, he will be there for 5 hours. So you really have to know. That's why I say wisdom is profitable. A lot of young girls, part of the problems they have is lack of wisdom. And what does the Bible say? My people perish for a lack of wisdom.
You seems to be a bit godly.
I am. It's God first. God first.